I need to tell you about the Charles Schulz manga biography. This manga revealed unexpected cultural differences between American and Japanese storytelling and historical narratives in the way you can only get with a story told for a Japanese audience about an American historical figure. It offered a very unique cultural exchange, especially since the story delivered exactly what it promised. It's a manga retelling of Schultz's life, and the way it approached this story felt very different from the way it would potentially be told for an American audience. I'm going to give you my thoughts on this manga and then dive into my speculations about different cultural approaches to storytelling and humor. But before that, if you're on the path to becoming a mangaka like Charles Schulz, you need to get on my YouTube membership. I'm starting the Scooter Pitch Podcast, a podcast where I roast your elevator pitches. I guarantee it will be mean, it will be stupid, it will be the worst advice you have ever heard. That way, when you talk about your ideas with anyone else, no matter what they say, you can react with, it's not the worst advice I've ever heard. Right now it's only $2, no guarantees, I'll keep it that low forever, and if you buy before February 28th, your pitch will be part of the first episode. I've got more info about the podcast in the pinned comment, and I'm really looking forward to going through everyone's ideas. And now, on to the review. This manga was approved by the Charles Schulz Foundation, and I don't know anything about the guy, so I can't point out any historical inaccuracies, but I know this exists to paint him in a very flattering light. This read like an hour-long documentary in that it was just kind of one event after the other. It was very heavy on the sentimentality, but since the goal is to tell this guy's life story in a single volume, it never lingers too long. If you're a sucker for clickbait, heartwarming tweets featuring cute animals or military families reuniting, this is going to be your speed. These softer moments worked on me and I enjoyed the sentimentality, but if you're a little tougher, you might dismiss this as too schmaltzy. Another thing I appreciated was the story was fine with showing the tougher parts of his life. Charles Schulz was in love with his coworker, he proposed to her, she turns him down. She was the inspiration for the little redheaded girl in Charlie Brown. Although the story is open with showing his sadness, there's this overall feeling of, well, that's life. Sometimes you get turned down, and that's how it is. This is also a story that showcases plenty of moments of pure, simple joy. I loved how this manga captured such a picturesque, charming mid-century life. If you're looking for the manga adaptation of a Norman Rockwell painting, this is perfect. The setting and mood were unmatched for capturing that quaint American life. But if you're a bigger Westaboo, you might think that opinion's a little crazy given the art style, because the art style is very moe and very manga. One thing I particularly loved was how artist Yuzuru Kuki was able to gradually age Schultz through the course of the manga. There's a considerable effort to make his design very cute and loaded with appeal, and the way he ages so gradually through the book showcased their impressive attention to detail. The overall art style was very tidy and easy to take in. So if you're big on shonen manga and you want to study something outside of your comfort zone, but shoujo feels a little too distant from your taste, this would be a decent stepping stone. Now, there's plenty of 3D models, default clip studio patterns, and the character designs are downright adorable, which might be off-putting to fans of more American-style comics, so I don't know what a fan of newspaper comics would get out of this. I'm going to guess the target demographic here is people who see Snoopy as a cute mascot figure and want to learn more. This won't quite satiate anyone looking for a more thorough historical deep dive. If you get your coworker with a Snoopy purse and Secret Santa, this would be a good gift. I would be curious what someone who's a little more attuned to the distinct differences between Japanese and American storytelling would pick up from this manga. That is, this story felt very Japanese. It's the story of a manga artist who never gives up even when the world keeps pushing him down. And maybe I only think that because Japan is kicking everyone's ass when it comes to sheer output of comics, and my only frame of reference for a story about an American cartoonist is Freddy Got Fingered. I wonder what aspects of Schultz's life would be highlighted or emphasized if the story was told for an American audience. What comes to mind is Stephen Fry's observation about the difference between American and British comedy. Let me play you that clip. Actually, never mind. The video couldn't be monetized when I included the clip. Womp womp. So let me just read you what Fry said. This is a bizarre theory that I won't push to its limit, but when it comes to comedy, I think it's obvious that the American comic hero is a wisecracker who is above his material and who is above the idiots around him. And the British comic, put it this way. The American comic is like John Belushi or someone like that. You know the scene in Animal House where there's a fellow playing folk music on a guitar and John Belushi picks up the guitar and destroys it. And the cinema loved it because he just smashes it and then waggles his eyebrow at the camera. And everyone says, God, he's so great. Well, a British comedian would want to play the folk singer. We want to play the failure. End quote. Schultz feels like the guy getting the guitar smashed because at the heart of this manga is fall down 7 times, get up 8. Even when the manga gets to a point where Schulz has achieved considerable fame and success, they still go out of his way to show him as a hardworking, humble person. I will boldly make the guess that if this was told for an American audience, the vibe would be more about Schultz's meteoric rise to fame with a big emphasis on he was the underdog, no one believed in him, but he toughed it out and now look at him, and taking this gloating victory lap. Instead, the vibe here is more he toughed it out, he kept toughing it out, even when he won, he continued to tough it out. And I would like to compare this with another historical drama, Saturday Night, the 2024 biopic about the inception of Saturday Night Live. That movie felt like it was trying to convince me that SNL is this scrappy underdog, brimming with creativity, fully committed to the artistic vision, which may have been true when it started, but it is not true today. Saturday Night Live is the institution. It is the man. I couldn't take that movie for what it was because of the monstrosity that is modern SNL. Over at Peter James's newsletter, Diary of a Failed Comedian, writer Peter James discusses two wildly different parodies of Kamala Harris. And I'm going to keep this tangent as apolitical as possible, but this is the best example of what I'm thinking of. When SNL parodies Kamala Harris, it's so endearing and loving. They're not going to do anything that would actually upset Kamala Harris or her team. To quote James, "It's flat, empty, and completely toothless. It practically doubles as an ad for the Harris campaign. An impression is supposed to satirize its subject, not regurgitate its talking points to bolster their public image. Nothing against Maya Rudolph, who is obviously a skilled comedic actor. This impression is more of a philosophical failure than a technical one. Rudolph's impression is effective in one way, however, although its effectiveness is unintended. It's a perfect example of the irrelevance of legacy media in 2024. Is there anything else that could sum it up better? One of the most famous sketch comedy performers in the country, with an entire hair, makeup, and wardrobe department on national broadcast TV under the banner of an iconic brand, is being outperformed by an unknown comedian with a cheap wig and a cell phone." End quote. To contrast, he shows the TikTok of New York comedian Sienna Hubert Ross, who does an over-the-top silly Kamala Harris impersonation and goes out into the city dressed up as Kamala Harris and acts like a real goofball. James does a more thorough breakdown of the TikToker's performance in his article, and my takeaway was, dude, this TikToker looks like a mental patient. The way she prances out of the McDonald's or introduces herself as Kamala is socially risky. She's not afraid to put herself out there and take these big risks. Adding that extra layer of danger makes the comedic punches hit that much harder. But Kamala Harris on SNL has that layer of security. There's no risk of someone lashing out at her or even a cashier giving her the stink eye. A Kamala impression on SNL is safe behind network TV cameras. So when I watch Saturday Night, the movie, insisting that they are true artistes, I'm just rolling my eyes like, okay, sellout, I'm sure Mommy Harris agrees with you. You're all very brave little comedians. Now, let's tie this back to the Snoopy manga. I never felt like this manga was trying to convince me of something I don't believe. And again, I know this is a product approved by Peanuts, one of the most profitable franchises. And I'm coming to this without knowing anything else about Charles Schulz. It's going to be biased. But this manga never shies away from sharing Peanuts' enormous success. The appeal of Peanuts is it's very humble, it's earnest, it's not a story about big victories, even if the mangaka himself enjoyed enormous victories in real life. If Schulz started gloating and cheering when he got his anime adaptation, the vibe would be off. Instead, the scene where Schulz watches the Peanuts Christmas special, he voices his mixed feelings, but he's ultimately okay with it. I got that kind of nervous sweat when I read that scene, like, what the dink? You could say something bad about the Peanuts Christmas special? That's allowed? You could do that? This also raises the question of what do you get out of manga? For me, this manga showed a kind, gentle existence, a cozy little escape, a story that wasn't afraid to show the protagonist crying and being hard on himself. That sentiment is considerably more difficult to find with more bombastic, in-your-face American media. It's like for every Steven Universe Softboy show, we get 200 Marvel iterations where everyone's out-quipping each other, and it sucks. I largely don't keep up with mainstream American media or comics because so much of it is stewing in a mindset that I don't particularly enjoy. To me, it's all a big mess of characters acting exactly like Stephen Fry described. And I won't act like I turn into a startled baby deer if you show me anything more intense than the K-On! Girl sipping on tea. My favorite manga is Dr. Stone, which is very intense and over the top. What I'm saying is the overall attitude in the Charles Schulz manga is one that felt very at home with the medium of manga, and the cultural attitudes found in Japanese media. Now, I know a lot of people come to manga for the shonen element, the crazy power systems, and a lot of anime reimaginings of American media get very punchy and action oriented. So if there's any future Charlie Brown mangas, I'm personally hoping for a crossover with Dog Ningen. I have a headcanon that Rex and Snoopy are half brothers. They should set aside their differences and team up. Snoopy's got a jet, and Rex has insatiable rage. They would be unstoppable. And if that idea sounds terrible, you're going to hear even worse on the Scooter Pitch podcast. My YouTube members get their elevator pitches read on the show, and if you sign up before February 28th, you'll be a part of the historic first episode. There's more info in the pinned comment, and I'm hoping at least one idea is even more cursed than Dog Ningen meets Snoopy. I know somebody in this audience can go above and beyond, and I am ready to kick that football.